Good evening, Music Multiverse listeners. Welcome to Beyond Your Radio. And tonight it's Album Review Saturdays, episode 20. These three albums come from different places, but it's quite possible that one's legendary status is understated, the other's status is legendary by lineage, and the final review is one that should already be that of legend. Tonight, our first album is Duane Betts' Wild and Precious Life. The article you can find on our website was done by Chef Jeff Johnson with some tidbits from me. There's no question that this is a product that sounds like the Allman Brothers. Why? Well, it has the lineage of the Allman Brothers. Dickie Betts' son, Duane, is at the helm, and he's brought in some friends, relatives, if you will, and he's made a dynamic record. You know, when you think about this, you immediately think of that slide guitar and the way Southern blues should just sound and the way it's delivered. I'm not going to spoil what Jeff said about the record or add pontificate. I'll let you read the article yourself at www.beyondyourradio.com. Just go to the article sections and go to Album Review Saturdays and pick episode 20, and you can read it there. On my side of the fence, I do gravitate to some of this, and I do love the Allman Brothers. However, their catalog might be a little confusing, considering all the greatest hits and different type of live sets and stuff, but there's no denying their signature sound. However, this is not the Allman Brothers, but it's so well done that you want to think it is or want it to be, especially if you're in that wheelhouse. Dickie Betts' bandmate, who was killed in a motorcycle accident in 1971, which is Duane Allman, that's why Duane Betts is named after. You know, he embraces the heart of the genre of this music, and the addition that I love, obviously Derek Trucks, is absolutely amazing. It's almost like they have a dueling guitar session in that vein. It's just classic, and there's absolutely a gem for this year in that genre. I don't think there'll be anything like it that probably comes close. So, as Jeff Johnson says in his article, folks, this is a real winner. Now I'm going to follow up with another legend guitar player who's played with the E Street Band, Neil Young and Crazy Horse. Obviously, if you're anybody who knows any of this, that's Nils Lofgren. Nils has been a singer-songwriter and guitar playing rock, blues rock, folk rock individual for decades. I can start off by saying that I'm definitely a fan of how he integrated and became a definitive part of the E Street Band. It's also Crazy Horse, but the way he works with Neil Young is obviously something special, sort of like a Bernie Taupin with Elton John. Whether it's his guitar playing, which can shift from acoustic beauty to fantastic roots blues, or the simple magic of the piano organ, right through the lyric and well-traveled vocal delivery, Mr. Lofgren has earned a certain respect and has always brought out interesting albums that fit human conditions and his passion for songwriting and delivering those stories. I'm not sure that Mountains is the title I would have went with, but then again, I'm not Nils Lofgren. The album has a lot of great stuff on it, good material. What it might lack in places is what we might have been expecting in the guitar work. So what I mean by that is the mountain thing, right? I don't know if that's really part of the storyline or anything of that nature, but ain't the truth enough where we're treated to the whole host of guitars, slide guitar and organ with roots, rock, and harmonies? That's right in the wheelhouse, and it's the best way to start. Then we feel an 80s rock attitude with an edgy guitar work. We do love, so all systems are still a go. You have to expect some harmony and gospel and modestly sappy ballad at least once, considering there is that connection in what he's done, and his cast is still sort of present in songwriting. I don't think there's any reason that anyone should change for the sake of what's going on today to try to do something that's not, in their wheelhouse or close to their heart. I do think the production crew needs to take an example or a listen and say, maybe we could either put it in a different key, try a different guitar, something that's more of the sound. But there are several tracks on here that do go to that realm. And one of them definitely sent me back to that era. I'll get into that in a minute. After that, we're back with what what we love about him in the older style, which is Wow, I Won't Cry No More, which is the best track. And followed tightly, yet somber, by Nothing's Easy, and I think he uses the name of a woman, Amy. Both are totally wheelhouse songs that make the record. The second half of the album bounces in and out of that good style and 80s style, like a big country meets adult contemporary blues, which is okay, but just flows oddly until we end with Angel Blues, the ballad that reaches for it. In the reaching of it, I understand the champion of the lyrics that Lofgren really has. It's going to take you several listens to really get into that, but it's still a well-written song, and there's the beauty and background of the harp that really sells it. Although at first listen, you're probably not going to grasp that. It's probably the most difficult song on the record to listen to the first time around. This is still a well-crafted, well-produced record that hits in the right places, now that I've said that. It's a singer-songwriter type of album that, kind of allows anything to go. With a few moments doesn't hurt, but doesn't help in the flow. But let's face it, that's a tough thing to put together when you're emotionally attached to the songwriting. And that's what I like the most. If you like Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, this is here. It's in your wheelhouse. There's no issues with it at all. Even if you got that 80s big country style too, those Lofgren fans will cherish this record as the singer and the blues guitar, along with some of the guest appearances, still, as they might be expected, Neil Young. It's nice. It's timely amidst everything that we're kind of listening to today. Those guest appearances include David Crosby, Neil Young, as I told you already, Ringo Starr, and Ron Carter. Next up is one I've been waiting for. I'm kind of going to read this verbatim, but I'm going to make little additions. Jeff Martin is no doubt a more occultist Jim Morrison reincarnate, with an incredibly engaging vocal reach, as well as Page-like guitar virtuosity that can rip with the best of them as a frontman of his band. His band, The Tea Party, is internationally known. For those that understand and appreciate the beauty and pageantry of the elegance of rock and roll can bring, absorb, and be delivered in a progressive alternative rock. This album is Jeff Martin's solo. He's done some. This one is called Seven Deadly Sins. Is it an EP? I don't think so, because it's over 30 minutes long. The reason it's 7 songs, 7 Deadly Sins. To give you the listing of the songs, Lust at number 1 is Sevet Nora. Sevet is the word for lust. Number 2, Down on Your Knees, that's Gluttony. Number 3, So Bitter, that's Wrath. Number 4, Sorted and Sold, is Greed. Number 5, Send Her My Love, Envy. Blinded by It, number 6, is really the Pride. Remember, pride is a sin. You Move So Slow at number 7 is Sloth. Now, based on 7 Deadly Sins, and based on the titles I just gave you, you're going to make an assumption based on the Tea Party and what Mr. Jeff Martin brings. God, I know too many Jeffs, don't I? Well, not that I'm saying I know Jeff Martin, although I have met him. This is not that kind of record, although it does fall in the wheelhouse of one of the Tea Party type songs. Let's say it's like The Messenger. There is not a solitary moment wasted in the 32 minutes. The lyrics are as one would expect from this amazing lyricist. He might be one of the best lyricists in rock today. It's very deep, well thought out, and uniquely universal. His recording style as a soloist has the lyrics and the romanticism behind it, although often dark, and of course, lovely, my sweets, always at the forefront, while the back in the musical accompaniment that he provides with whatever string instrument he decides to master over. It can be a sitar, it can be a guitar, it can be an instrument that I'm not even sure I know how to pronounce, spell, or say. Listen long, listen deep, for you have 32 minutes that your soul and road will keep. Not that's not lyrics from the album. What I'm saying is, it's my statement to you. If you've never heard of him solo-wise, as well as the many devoted fans, this is a splendid recording that's sinful only in that it's missing the dark blues he can conjure without even trying. It's missing from the record. I think it's intentfully missing. He wants to delve more into the ballad and the lyrics and the beauty behind it. He does keep with the Middle Eastern tints. It does start with the lustful opening track, but the rest of the album comes at you like The Messenger and the tempered areas of Splendor Solace. It dabbles in occult sinfulness, but it's also harmonic and hopefully nestled beautifully between sitar, acoustic guitar, vocal lamenting that only Jeff Martin's signature vocal can powerfully compel you and your spirit and your ear to. It's symphonic. It's lyrically lovely. It's surprisingly still an acoustic and electric guitar lovers listen. You need to listen deeper because it's all there, I assure you. It's another notch in the coolness he exudes, no matter himself or whether he's with his beloved band. Hell, the coolness he probably exudes while he's mowing his lawn. Jeff Martin's playing guitar, sitar, whatever else he possesses from the string of cult instruments across the world. Darren Evans plays drums and percussion. The Seven Deadly Sins EP is a wonderful working, and I was very glad that it came along when it did. Now, here's a couple bonuses for this episode, and something I'm not as familiar with, but I do enjoy, and I can't pontificate on because I do not have the background. But this is Saskia Giorgini, Liszt Consolations. Now, Liszt is a Hungarian composer, obviously in the old school. When I say old school, we're going way, way back. There's some giant pieces here that really caught my ear, and I'm no professional when it comes to classical music. I just hear it. Sometimes it grips me, moves me, and when it can stop me in my tracks, makes me forget all else and listen intentfully, lustfully, in fact, if we're going to go back to how we are right now, considering Jeff Martin's record. Then I know I'm in the presence of something truly special. And that can be from the present in composition, or it can be from the far, far past. Bach, Beethoven, or in this case, Liszt, is unknown to me. I'm pretty sure this is my first experience with the composer, although it may not be. It could have been on some soundtrack that I wasn't probably aware of. But this is not the first time for Saskia. In her 2022 recording, Liszt's Harmonies Poétiques et Religieuses, this is the follow-up. And it's not, I'm going back to it because her technique, her expertise just blew me away. Now I'm going to butcher this, but this is one of the tracks that just stopped me. Three Caprices - Valses. It's S.214, number 1, Valse de Bravoure in B flat. I recommend the record for anyone who's interested in classical music or has put their ear to it. Liszt fans should embrace her because she's considered the best technical player of Liszt there is. And it's up at a 90-point rating in the classical environment. It could be album of the year classically. It's a lot more listens for me to get there, obviously, but I'm willing to do it because it's so darn well done. It's a lot to take in. Finally, the bonus other album I'm going to use is completely different than classical and pretty much different than anything else that was played today. But a band that I have every album of, a band that over the last several years I probably haven't paid much attention to. I might have listened to the first album, but then threw it out into my, alphabetized list, and it might have been forgotten. As a matter of fact, right now at this time, I can't even tell you what the title of the last record was. But this one, Truth Killer, Sevendust, is the band. I have every album, but this one I'm paying more attention to. Truth Killer emerges, and I took it in the AirPods. I don't even think I've listened to a Sevendust record in AirPods. And I was immediately brought back to the Sevendust that I remembered. It didn't seem dialed in. Not that I'm saying they did back in the past, but the riff, the commonness of it all didn't hit as hard. It seemed like they were struggling between ballad and harsh delivery. When I think about it, I need them to be definitively, vehemently telling of the struggling that they're having, or I don't know, it just needs to be heavy hitting. In this one, they're dealing with heaven and hell and the struggling with what the devil brings and awful things that apparently might have been self-destruction of the band, might have been present just for the singer. I don't know who it's for. You could even say it's in your own life. This record was a required reckoning, not only for the internal singer-songwriter or the band, but for you, the fans, as well. This is my opinion, that is. Whether you believe it or not, the music's tone, tempo, is assuredly returned, and the production and details are there, all there, for you to believe it for yourself. While it's not a perfect record, those are feelings of, purposeful struggle and a way to get back and not stray into those areas of hell. Whatever those hell may be for you or me, or as for the band. This is the strongest Sevendust record in quite some time, and I'd say over more listens that I'm giving it to, it's starting to creep up into my top 5 albums that they've ever made. I hope you've enjoyed this album review Saturdays, episode 20. The bands again, if you missed, we've got, not the bands, but the individuals. Dwayne Betts' Wild and Precious Life, which is a lovely classical kind of Southern rock record with wonderful slide guitar and great guests. Then it's Nils Lofgren's Mountains, which is a folk rock, more of a rock album with a little 80s twinges. Then there's Jeff Martin's 7 Deadly Sins, which is an EP considered. I don't, but it's 7 songs written in the style of The Messenger and well delivered by the vocal prowess of Mr. Martin. And of course, always the music is sitar, beautiful guitar work, and symphonically delivered. Finally, my last 2, just little bonuses there. Saskia Giorgini's Liszt Constellations, which is classical music of the composer Liszt. And this is her second follow-up to that. So if you have not heard 2022's Liszt Harmonies Poétiques et Religieuses, I would recommend that as well. And then finally, I finished with Sevendust's Truth Killer. Obviously, that's a metal record. And those who know the band well, they've been around for decades. As always, I appreciate everyone's attention and detail, and we're always trying to get you to listen to new music and explore new things. We're on the web at www.beyondyourradio.com. You've got all kinds of album review Saturdays to review, 20 of them, in fact, as well as other articles written as Unknown Sundays and Music Bites. Happy listening.